Check, check, check. 1, 2, 3. Check, 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 check. 1, 2, 3. We'll go live here shortly. 1, 2, 3. I believe we're live. Let's just check. 1, 2, 3. Nice. We are live. All right. Welcome back to Real Cast Fishing. Your host, Glenn, with the City of Fishing Field Team, COAF Field Team on YouTube. And this round, what do we got to say? We're just going to be talking about some pier fishing, ramblings, and just going on about different things. I know it's an impromptu one that I put together. And well, it's just one that I wanted to see if we can just come on a Friday and just chill and talk about different things, specifically on the pier fishing side. But let me make sure the chat's working. So let me just give a little howdy in the chat. Howdy. Okay, let's see if it shows. 1, 2, 3, boom. While we're here, might have a little something for yours truly. Tasty. All right, good. Yeah, I can see it pop up. Yep. All right. So now we just need some folks to join. But while we're waiting for some folks to join, I just wanted to do a little recap of some of the upcoming activities that I have planned for this upcoming week. So, in the very near future, we're going to make a run to the Galveston coast, Texas coast in Galveston, and fish the Galveston Fishing Pier, possibly some other locations as well. But we'll be targeting the one at Galveston Fishing Pier, specifically on the 91st Street and Seawall. We've been doing this for upwards, I believe, I look back on it, I think about maybe 11 to 15 years now that we've hit that pier, or at least that area, and well, it's been a pretty good time. And what I wanted to do is just share in some of the moments that we had fishing in that particular area, and maybe it might trigger some comments, maybe some questions, maybe some clarification here or there as need be for some of the things that we're doing down there. And so first thing is I do have a video that I pulled from our YouTube channel, and I'm hoping that I can walk through it and just talk of some of the things that we were doing in this particular video. And then from there, I'll switch over to maybe some other videos or some other discussions specifically on fishing that area. And we're talking pier fishing, specifically the Texas coast, specifically the Galveston Fishing Pier. All right, looks like we got some folks joining, so we got a couple folks on right now. So glad you were able to join. Mainly we've been talking about pier fishing. So with that, let me go ahead and shift us over to, let's see. It's a video on how I was catching trout, in this case, under the lights over there at the Galveston Fishing Pier. And some of the key things that I wanted to pull out of there, or at least call out, was what I was doing. So let me go ahead and start the video, and I'll just commentate over it and see if you can pick up anything that I'm doing there that you might have some questions on. So what I'm doing is I'm fishing with an ultralight bait caster. It's the Shimano Scorpion BFS XG. It's okay to use in salt water because it does have seal bearings, but you do have to make sure that you wash it off and make sure it's oiled. But here I'm going to walk through what I'm doing. Okay, so I'm using tandem spec rigs from H&H, and it's just a short demo of how I'm fishing this particular location. So I'm fishing under the lights. There's a bunch of lights here and there and whatnot, and I'm using a twitchy retrieve. Okay, so I'm casting it out. I'm giving it a little twitch of the rod, and I'm pretty much just setting the hook when I feel the bite by just tightening up and giving more tension on the line, specifically just reeling up on the line itself. Okay, and there's a little stingray that went by. H&H spec rig. I'm using both the little tail variety, sparkled beetle, I think is what they call it. And then I also have a different one that I've been using in this particular case. And so what I'm doing is I'm catching either sand trout, speckled trout, and whatever is biting. In the case of sand trout, there's no limit, no size limit as well as quantity limit. And so the key thing that I like about that is that's perfect bait to use for catching some of the other things that we were going to be catching during this trip, be it bull reds as well as some sharks as well. Okay, and so it's ultralight bait casting, but I'm using basically a 1/4 ounce rig because it's two 1/8 ounce jigs, and it's a classic spec rig that I used way back when I was growing up on the Texas coast, fishing under the lights, fishing for specks and a sand trout, doing something similar to this, but I wasn't using ultralight bait casting gear. Instead, I was just using some, Zebco 202 or 33, as well as some old school spinning reels. It's a Shimano BFS XG ultralight bait casting setup, but I am using a Bass Pro Shops BFS reel, or correction, micro light reel. It's fiberglass, very twitchy, so I can cast it really easy, and it's very sensitive to where I can get a good feel as when the trout are striking. Okay, and a lot of times I'm casting past the lighted area into the shadow line, and then I'm bringing the rig over. Sometimes it's that steady retrieve, letting it kind of bring it in kind of slowly and whatnot. Other cases, I was given a little twitch of the rod tip, and that was just enough to elicit a strike, and I found that being very useful. So, anyways, that was a fun trip, and ended up, I believe, we were able to catch several nice sized fish this round. But from this is just a little break in the action, being able to just I'll check out some of the fish that we're biting in this case. All right. So, and what's nice is you can use various gear and whatnot to catch a fish or two in this case. All right. Let's see. This is a different video. Let me just switch over. I've got a whole set of other videos here. Pier fishing for shark, tips for beginners. Let's take a look at that one. All right. And let's just pop it out into the channel here. Pier fishing for sharks. Okay. I think I've got some audio here. Let me go ahead and throw out the audio.
Just avid fishermen who have passion fishing, and in this case, we do like taking a trip to the coast every once in a while. And well, we've gotten better at catching a few sharks here and there. So here's some tips, some suggestions that, well, if we were asked what we do, well, this is what we do. First thing, get the latest pier info. What are we talking about? Hours that they're open, cost per person, rod limits. What do we say with hours open? You definitely want to call the pier that you're calling or that you plan on going to, because they may have some adjusted hours, maybe 24/7. Then later on in the winter time, they'll cut it down. So definitely get the hours that they're open. And then cost per person. There's some discounts if you're military, senior citizen, as well as if you're a kid.
And one thing to call out, excuse me. One thing to call out is this particular pier, Galveston Fishing Pier, 91st Street. They do have those discounts. They are open 24/7, but do take a look at it as you get into the cooler months, October, November, December. They're 24/7. Actually, will be adjusted to where they'll reduce their hours. So keep that in mind when you're getting ready to go hit a pier. Give a call ahead and see if you've got the right schedule. But in this case, Galveston Fishing Pier, at least this time of the year,
initially, just want to know what that cost is. Then next thing is the rod limits. There are some limits. Sometimes there's 2, sometimes there's 3 per person. There's also some length limits for rods, so you do want to get that information before you head out. Next thing, there's some other restrictions. Other restrictions like you can't bring alcohol on the pier, or you may not be able to bring bottled or glass bottles. Additionally, cast nets are sometimes prohibited. And there's also, I know in the 61st Street fishing pier over there in Galveston, I think there's like a 37-inch or even there's a length limit or size limit on your Pier cart that you can take on board the Pier. So you want to call ahead and get that information beforehand, or maybe check out their website, but definitely find out before you head out there. Additionally, you want to look at some of the fishing reports. I mean, you might as well get the latest and greatest from those that are over there fishing on the Pier or there every day. So, hey, give it a shot and call ahead. Get those fishing reports and get an understanding as to what may be out there. Next thing is get the high and low tide for your area. Go look at the tide charts. Go look online for that particular area that you're going to be fishing. You want to kind of fish those tides before the tide, on a rising tide. Time it so that you're there when there's some water movement instead of when those slack tide and there's not as much water movement. Okay, weather forecast. Need to know what anticipate from a weather standpoint. You may want to have some definite sunscreen. Maybe some rain gear. Just got to play it by ear, but definitely call or go ahead and check what you anticipate for the weather while you're down there. Next thing is you got to have a fishing license. Well, in some cases you may not, but better check. Some places
And one thing to call out about fishing licenses, like right now here in Texas, the fiscal year ends August 31st, but because it's August 15th, if you pick up a license right now, it'll be valid for 2024 into 2025. Right now, I have the current 2023 to 2024 license, which will expire August 31st. But that said, I'm going fishing next week to the Texas coast, so I should be good to go till the end of the fiscal year, being August 31st. But again, you do have to have a license. In this case, you got to make sure you've got that saltwater license. Also, there are some special permits, like a bonus or correction, a bull red and whatnot, and that's one to keep in your back pocket, because if you catch one, got what the size red it is, but you get a redfish that meets that criteria. You catch one, you can turn around and turn that in and get another one. So you have actually a chance of catching two for a particular situation, or at least a particular season. All right. It looks like, let's see, we'll be fishing Sebastian Inlet Pier. Nice. Okay. And Sebastian Inlet Pier is in what state? All right. Let me go ahead and roll the video and see if any other questions pop.
I've been to piers where you don't require a fishing license. All the ones that we've been to here in the Galveston area, 61st Street Fishing Pier, the Galveston Fishing Pier, as well as down south when Bob Hall Pier was open over there in Port Aransas, as well as Horace Caldwell. All those required having a fishing license. So make sure you do have that ahead of time and find out, as well as be ready for that. Additionally, fishing regulations. Got to know what the regulations are for a particular fish. Maybe you might catch one and you want to just know what it is. So do brush up on that. The way things are now, you can just have your phone with you. You can check, but it's always good to have an idea what you can and can't keep out there, or some regulations that may prohibit you from keeping as many, because there's a daily limit, as well as maybe there's a size limit. So do get that latest pier info to include the information just noted. Okay, next thing, prepare your gear. What we suggest, 50-pound rod combo. A shark rod is the one that you'll be using. 12-pound rod combo, that one's going to be used for the bait. You want to catch some fresh bait, be it live or some cut bait that you'll be using. Shark leaders, get those rigged up. Maybe buy.
Okay, and what we're talking about here, let me shift the scene real quick. Okay, so this, in that one video you're seeing, I'm using, this is a 30-pound rig here. It's the Penn Squall 2. It's the old school. Got to use your thumb to cast it. Got to use your thumb to actually level wind it back on. And what I like about it is because it doesn't have a level wind mechanism, I can get a really good cast with this. And when we fish a particular pier, in this case the Galveston fishing piers, we found that these little 6-foot boat rods tend to do better for us compared to the 10-footers surf rods that we're using in the past. So one, it's just a little bit more easier to just maneuver on the pier. We don't find ourselves limited in the cast. We're able to get it where the fish are. And well, we've caught some 5-foot sharks. We've caught smaller sharks. We've caught a pretty good sized stingray with it. And just on this 30-pound test, the main thing, or at least the detractor in this, is it is limited in line capacity. So you better fight that thing quickly, get them to the net, or next thing you know, you've been spooled, and well, go pick up another set of line. The other thing is you'll see a lot of times, you'll see in the video or in other videos I've posted while we're down there, is I'll use different color monofilament. I just use straight monofilament. I think I do have one rod that I set up some braid on, some 65-pound test braid, but I typically will just go with some 30-pound mono. It's cheap, easy to replace, and it gets the job done. But I mainly like this high, I think it's called Solar Green right here. Seems to make a difference in being able to see visually where your line is tending, as well as you can see if something has taken the line and now it's slack, or it's just running out on you. And just that short bit of this, just easily able to identify your line against the backdrop of the water has made a difference for me, as well as my fishing buddy. We always go in every year now. I think it's 11, if not 15 years now that we've been hitting there to the Galveston coast, or the Texas coast, Galveston fishing piers. Okay, so let me keep running the video and see if you guys got any questions, comments, and maybe some observations, some tips. Because hey, I'm not experts. We're not experts. We're just avid fishermen who enjoy fishing, and our motto is learn to fish by our trials and errors. Alrighty.
Commercially, or make them themselves.
Run the video. So, got a commercial. I'll skip it.
Have
here
enough
real
terminal
quick.
tackle. You may have to replace a few things, weights, swivels, more hooks. Just be ready to, or be prepared to have that extra gear, to include some line, extra 50-pound and 12-pound line for those shark rod and that bait rod that you're going to be using. Additionally, you want to have a Pier net, a tape measure, Pier net, so that you can release it if it's too small, too big. And in case you tape measure, to make sure that you know how big it is or how small it is, so you can let it go as well. Let's see. Next thing, pliers, knife, a crimper. The crimper, not as much for some folks. I like having a crimper because then I can make leaders on the fly as need be if I break off. The pliers, you want to have that because, well, you get that shark, you have to take that hook out of the mouth, and it's pretty tough doing it by hand in some cases. Have a knife, be able to clean it, as well as cut the bait fish that you're going to have. Be prepared that way. And then have an ice chest with ice and enough water and snacks, because you might get a little hydrated or dehydrated while out there, and then you might get a little hungry while you're out there too. So always good to have some nourishment out there, as well as staying hydrated. Next thing is the sun protection and rain gear, just in case it might be really sunny, or it's probably going to be really sunny, and you want to have that protection. And then if it does rain, you want to be able to still be fishing out there while it's raining, because you made that whole trip down to the coast and you don't want to miss out. Next thing is a lamp and a flashlight. Flashlight's good because it's going to be dark on the pier at times, and so you want to be able to see exactly what you're looking for if you're not able to get enough light from the pier lights itself. And then that lamp is always good to have as well. You might be in a darker section as well. And I personally like using the little handheld LED lights, where you just click it on and off. And then additionally, I also have a battery-powered lamp that it gets pretty bright. Have that for several years and been pretty happy with it, as well as it fits right into that Pier cart that we use. Let's see. Sabiki rigs and spec rigs. Those are good too. The sabiki rig for getting those small bait fish that are going to be near the pier, and then those spec rigs for catching some more of those sand trout, because those make really good bait, as well as some of those other fish that you catch with the spec rig. Can't use a speckled trout, but you can use sand trout for some of that bait, and the fish do like them. And if you do get a ladyfish, well, that's one that you definitely want to use when you're out there trying to get your shark or two. Let's see. Next up, fish bites and bait shrimp. Yes, you definitely want to have some fish bites. That's going to help you get some of those bait fish. And then those bait shrimp as well, that also helps. Sometimes they want the bait shrimp, sometimes they want the fish bites. You may even want to get some squid and whatnot, but I find that if you get either one of those two or both of those two, you're pretty good to go with catching some of that bait. Okay, so that was prepare your gear. Okay, next up, pier setup. So you're at the pier, you're ready to go. What are you going to do? Arrive before the crowds, because it's going to get really crowded at times. So you want to look for those open areas. If you can't do that or time it as such, just kind of gut it out and just find an open area and just see what you can do from that location. Then make it the adjustment that you can while you're on the pier once people are leaving, coming, going throughout the day. Next thing is observe the waves and current direction. So you want to see where the waves are, the current direction, so you know how to cast and how it's going to tend your rig once you've set it out there. So pay attention to that. And then note what others are catching as well as not catching. So it looks like everybody's catching something, or it's kind of not so great. Note that while you're going along the pier. Try to look for a spot to go set up. And then one thing that you do want to learn is a slip knot. It's the one where you can easily pull the knot and grab your rod, because several times I almost lost our fishing rods because I didn't have it secured properly. You probably can do it with a bungee cord and whatnot. That would help also, but I tend to have some kind of paracord or some line always in our tackle box. So a slip knot is very simple to tie, and it's really simple to untie. It's enough to hold your rod in place while that big one, that shark or two, grabs that bait of yours and starts going on a run. Okay, fishing and after. So you're fishing two rods. Cast one far, cast one close. That way you can work further out from the pier, and then those areas that when they're getting closer to the pier as well. So you have, you're covering both areas. Additionally, catch bait fish using those fish bites and shrimp. And as you're bringing them in, you can fish them live. You can fish them cut. Just whatever you're catching, put it in your ice chest. Keep it fresh, and definitely keep it in the ice chest, because the birds are going to get it. The gulls and these other birds that they're just like all over the place, ready to go grab your bait. So make sure you do that. And like I said, use live bait or cut bait and adjust as needed. So if it looks like the live bait's getting hit more, go for it. If it looks like the cut bait, then switch back to the cut bait. And let's see. Use non-stainless steel, non-offset circle hooks. That's a requirement here in Texas, fishing the Gulf waters or the state waters. So you want to make sure you have that. But in general, that's a good thing to have as well, because non-stainless, it'll just rust out if he breaks off. And that offset piece, I believe that's also to help allow it to come off the shark's jaw if it breaks off on you. All right. Let's see, land sharks with a pier net and measure accurately. The pier net we use, I think I put it in the post, the pier net we used. That one worked well. It made it up for that 54-inch shark that our fishing buddy was able to catch. And the good thing is if we decide to let it go, we could just let it go. No gaffing, no harm to the fish. If we were going to do so, we could let it go with no problem. And that pier net did come in handy. Used it for sharks, used it for the black drum, used it for the bull reds that we caught this last round. So, hey, got to have a pier net, and definitely a tape measure so you can measure it accurately, because you're going to be able to, well, it's good to know that you're in regs or not, and, have a tape measure. Measure it accurately. And if you're not sure, well, if you're not certain if it's legal, go ahead and just let it go as a rule of thumb. Be it if you can't identify the shark, or in this case, if you're not sure about the length and whatnot, let it go and let it get bigger and move on. All right. Let's see. And if you do want to keep one, and it is legal, it's suggested that you bleed the fish or the shark, in this case, cut the tail, but don't cut the tail off completely. There's a requirement here in our state of Texas, where you have to have the tail intact. So you slice it and let the blood drain out. That's going to help it, well, at least the meat taste better, or at least stay better, instead of just letting it sit there. All right. So that's it for our infographic, Pier Fishing for Sharks.
All right, I hope that was helpful. Really like doing some fishing. This is an infographic I put together after several trips and some lessons learned The other thing I would say is when you are using a pier net, definitely want to have a pier net. There is that instance where it's just way too big. When we caught it was 41 inch, I believe, width stingray. We were trying to bring it up. It was two of us, then three of us, and then five of us came in, and we just couldn't get it lifted, even though it had it in the pier net. We ended up having, luckily, the T-head portion of the pier, everyone pretty much on the end, about 13 of us, all came together, and one person took the lead and said how to do this. And bottom line, it was sort of using a system where everyone would do like a little tug of war on the rope, pull back, and they would secure the line in place and bring it up in short spurts, sort of like a slip, I don't know, some kind of deal they did with the rope, and it worked out well. But I was talking to my vision buddy, and I says, hey, basically it's a ratchet when you need a pulley. And so for this year, what did I get? I got a ratchet with a pulley that I can basically deploy really quickly and hang it on there. So instead of trying to do it this on the fly way, I think one person, if not two, maybe three, if it's a big one and we got the pier net, we can use this ratchet system to lift that out of the water, because instead of pulling and then letting go and it drop, it'll just hold in place. And I showed that slip knot in the video. That is a good one to learn, especially when you're on the piers. I used to use bungee cord. I used to use little like rubber bands, but half the time I would forget that I even brought the bungee cords, or I was looking for rubber bands, or I just needed something. And the bottom line is I needed something to hold my rod in place against the pier railing. And I always had a section of cord, be it paracord or some kind of rope. So I learned how to do the slip knot. And what that does is it allows me to secure the rod in place with a knot that can be easily undone, basically by pulling the one end versus the other end. And when you pull it, comes free, you can pull your rod off and start fishing away or fighting the fish as need be. Now, if we do get something really big, especially like some of these, pros and whatnot who use these huge reels, yeah, this is not going to handle these huge sharks. Be it the I'd say maybe 6+, maybe 10-foot, whatever, sharks and whatnot. But this can handle a 5-footer, no problem. You can bring it in. I've been pretty happy with it. We've got a match pair of this. I also got another set of level wind ones that have the level wind feature. We're going to bring those this next time also. And because at the Galveston Fishing Pier, you're allowed 6 rods. Each of us will have 3 rods. There's 2 of us fishing. 2 of them will be this style boat rod setup, and then we'll have one that we're using for bait. Because bottom line, you're always trying to catch bait while you're soaking your baits in the water, actually fishing. Also, I'll bring a bucket with an aerator, and when we catch these croakers and sand trout and whatnot, we'll put them in there. I also bring a trolling bucket. It's the one that you can throw behind a boat and let it sit in the water, and it'll let water flow through this bucket that's actually just floating in the water. I've used that, and I've been able to keep some pretty good fish. Excuse me. Keep some pretty good fish alive using that trolling bucket. But we do like having line bait. If we can have live bait, it's awesome. If we don't have live bait, then we'll start cutting up the bait and whatnot. But one thing I did notice last year was we did have a couple of pompano runs where just hundreds of these little pompano just started hitting on the surface and whatnot. We were able to hook into those because we were using our sabiki rigs to catch our bait. Those seem to get eaten up like that. It was like if the fish wanted one thing or the other, be it a croaker, a speckled trout, or a whiting, or correction, a sand trout or a whiting, it seemed like consistently that pompano was what they were going for. So I mean, like side by side, you put one in the water, it seemed like they wanted that one. But unfortunately, we didn't get that many pompano. They just kind of hit or miss as they were coming through the area. All right, I just wonder if you guys have seen the same thing. All right, let me see if I can find some other fishing videos related to our trips down to the coast. Let's see. I think this is one of our older videos. Galveston Fishing Pier on the road. This is one fishing rig we were using. Let's check this one out.
When it's time to choose the right products for your project, Ferguson makes sure everything runs smoothly from start.
All right, we got to go through
So
a
I'm
quick
getting some
commercial,
questions
and then we'll knock
on
that out. Okay,
what
there we go.
rig we were using. So here's a quick demo on what we used. We were using this thing, weed eater line, right here, 0.095 weed eater line, right there. Had two different kinds. I don't think it really mattered. I ended up using this one because it was some leftover one from our old weed eater. So about a 2-foot section of this. And the reason we went with 2 foot is because we're using short rods. We had a little 6-foot rod. Let's see, it was a Mariner 2 from Penn. We also had a 10-foot surf rods. We still kept the 2-foot length and just extended the wire harness to a longer length. I think it was a 2 foot for the wire harness, or correction, the wire portion of it. And that's this piece right here, this Malin hard wire. All right. And that was, I think, yeah, it was a 1.5 feet, 18 inches for the smaller size one we were using for those 6-foot rods. We had a little crimping tool picked up from Cabela's. That came in pretty handy. It's the one that has 2.2 millimeter right here, as well as a 1 to 2 to 0.5 to 1 to 0.1 to 0.05. But we ended up using this 2.2 portion of it right here. And we had these crimps that we picked up from Amazon, catch-all tackle, came in a pack, and we were using this size right here, the 2.2 right here for the weed eater line, 0.0095. We're actually using the smaller size one that was on the 2 that we were using for some other weed eater line. I think it was like 0.065. We use these swivels, ball bearing swivel right here. And it's the one that has the little lock piece here, because you want to make sure you don't, if they pull, it doesn't come loose, versus the other one that has that little snap that'll pop out. And here's those 2 crimps right here. And then we were using one of these slider rigs for our weight right here. Right, and the key thing here is when you're setting it, make sure you push down on this end so you can slide it up and down. We were having a hard time opening it because we were using the wrong end, but figured it out after a while. So we normally use a different little swivel deal or whatever. Here's the weed eater line, about a 2-foot deal right here. And all I did was make a loop on one end right here. Take it through. Left about an 1/8 or a 1/4 inch piece right here sticking out, and then I adjusted the loop to about yay big there, and then I crimped it once on the end here and once on the end. I did 3 crimps initially, but then I found that all you needed was 2. So you take the crimping tool, put it on the 2.2 right here, leave about 1/8 of an inch piece there, and then we just crimp it. So one on one end. And I was able to do this to set up some rigs on the fly while we were out on the pier to make some adjustments, or when we broke off. Had a couple times where the shock leader or the line broke and we lost our whole rig on the cast, or just little oopses here and there. Okay, so there it is. So 2 crimps and it flares out nicely right there, and that's it. Okay, so that's one. Next thing is you take your little swivel deal and you put that through like so, and now it just runs the whole length here. And then
good evening. Tonight we have the pride of West Africa. It brings together the Ghanaian.
Here real quick.
We'll go ahead and get the other crimp.
Right.
Get that through as well. But this time we'll take our snap swivel, put it on there, take it around. There's some other rigs where they use a little like a some kind of protector nylon deal here. I guess that would work for those bigger fish and whatnot, but since we're just average Joes just going out there for a little bit, this lasted 3 days with no issue, so we kind of stuck with it. All right, so we've got it on there. Got the swivel, snap swivel, and we'll now do another crimp again. Okay, and there it is. So we've got this end is where the wire is going to go, and the hook on the end right here. And then this is the one that'll go onto the line or that shock leader. And that shock leader we used was 50-pound test. And this is the shock leader we're using, this Cabela's 50-pound mono right there. So the next thing is the wire. Again, we're using this Malin hard wire. In this case, we use the number 9, which is rated 108-pound test. 108-pound test, 0.022 diameter. We're using I believe this was a 7/0 hook. And we got about 18 inches of wire. And what we liked about this is, once we figured out how to do that haywire twist and get these on, we didn't need any other special tools. And there's some good videos. I think Black Tip has a really good channel that gives a good tutorial on this, as well as this one that Landshark did, Landshark Fishing. Both of those had some really good tutorials. So I'm still learning this, but I was able to get through at least a trip, and we didn't have any break-offs. Key being that you got to make sure you do the haywire twist correctly. You don't wrap one wire over the other. It needs to be basically twisted against each other. So I'll go do that here real quick, starting out with the one end that is just going to be a loop. At this point, I'll be doing some twisting here. Twist with this hand going one way, the twist with the other hand going the other way. Basically interlocking the wire versus making it one wire wrapping the other, which is basically a barrel twist. They say to do it about 7 times. I think I was doing it about 6 or 7. So there's that, and then we'll then do the barrel twist, which is taking it at the 90 and doing about 2 or 3 wraps around. And then in the past I was using a little clip like a wire cutter, but instead you can just bend it and it'll snap, and then it leaves a nice clean break. All I'm doing is just bending it back and forth. There we go. That one's off, and now I can feel, I can rub it there and it doesn't catch. It's not sharp or anything. Okay, so here's the end product. You got the loop on one end. You got the little slider rig here for the weight. You have the other loop with that barrel snap swivel. Here's the haywire twist piece with the wire, 18 inches. And there's that hook. And we're able to switch these on the fly as need be, because with no tool, break off the tag end by just kind of twisting back and forth. I think there was another one where someone did like a handlebar thing to turn it and it snapped off as well. But check that out on the Black Tip channel, as well as Landshark Fishing. They've got a really good one. But here, let's see, when we store it, we take off the wire piece, and we actually kept it in 2 separate Ziploc bags. So kept this piece in one Ziploc bag, and we just take this, kind of roll it into a coil. Keep that in the other Ziploc bag. And we actually got to use these the whole day, or the whole 3 days we were there. They do rust, so we ended up just throwing those away after the trip. But in the end, we had no break-offs with wire or with the weed eater line. Of course, we didn't get anything that was huge. I think the biggest one was about 33, 34 inches. Everything else was under that. These were nice because we were able to make these on the fly. The only real big purchase this round was these crimpers that I picked up at Cabela's. These are nice, under 20 bucks, or about 20 bucks. I think I got the last one over here at our local Cabela's over here in Allen. What's nice about it is it comes with these wire crimpers or wire cutters. So far, I've been happy. It fits in our tackle box, so no biggie. All right, hopefully this was helpful. And until next time, we'll catch y'all later, and good luck and good fishing.
Alrighty, I hope that was helpful. I definitely I use that. In fact, over here in the back area here, I've got a bunch of stuff prepped because still got to finish up a few things because we're making our trip to
as the leaves turn and the air cools. We remember
we'll be fishing the area. We'll be fishing the area for the week, and hopefully we'll be able to catch more than just onesie twosies, and hopefully we'll be able to do maybe some live streaming while we're on the pier itself, and you get a good feel as how the action's doing. I know the temperature's been hot lately. I think we hit like 100+ degrees today, so it's pretty brutal. But that said, that is the plan here in the upcoming week. So we'll not be fishing freshwater. We'll be fishing saltwater. It'll be pure fishing focus. If we do get a chance, we might hit, I think it's called Seawolf. It is called Seawolf Park, and that one tends to have some really good opportunity to catch some nice fish in that pier, as well as a wading area where you can wade, and also in the main channel. But if we do have some blue water or green water, we'll definitely fish the piers, be it the 61st Street Fishing Pier or the Galveston Fishing Pier. And if anyone is in the area and you see us, just do a quick shout out. You'll see yours truly. I'll either have my little Stetson hat, the mesh Stetson hat that I like keeping because it keeps my head from getting burnt. Plus, I don't sweat that much having that hat versus the old ball cap one I used to wear. But anyways, let's see if I got some other stuff I can show you about fishing the piers in Galveston. So, let's see. This one was back in 2019. It was some lessons learned that I put together based on that trip. And let me see if I can get that one started here in a moment. And I'm monitoring the chat, so if you have any questions, comments, or whatnot, definitely put them in there. I'm watching them, and hopefully I can answer the mail. If I need to stop the video and whatnot,
Sit around fishing?
We can certainly do so. Okay, so this is back in 2019. Yours truly talking about some lessons learned this last trip to the Galveston fishing piers and the Texas coast. All right.
It's Glenn, and this round we're going to talk about some lessons learned about fishing Galveston, a recent trip that we took just early last week. So bottom line, stay tuned. We've got some lessons learned from when we fish Surfside, jetties, the Galveston Fishing Pier, as well as the 61st Street Fishing Pier.
A very old friend came by today, 'cause he was telling everyone in town of the love that he just found, and the reasoning of his latest flame.
And we were able to Houston and then down to Galveston
Music there.
and taking that route and have to deal with some of the congestion there. Non-rush hour arrival, as well as speed. It had a mix of a pint of shrimp with some small ones, 2 inches or so. Do some medium ones, 3 to 4. That tended to get the bigger fish, and then we had some jumbos mixed in there. So bottom line, just because you have a live shrimp flag doesn't mean it's the live shrimp you want. A pint was all we needed for what we were doing on that first night fishing Surfside Jetty. What would have been nicer is to have more of those medium-sized ones, those little guys. So do keep that in mind. Fresh squid makes a difference. There's the frozen one that's turning pink on you, as well as the aged one that's turning pink on you. And then there's that really fresh one, or that's been newly frozen fresh, where it's got that whitish opaqueness still to it. Those worked a lot better than the non-fresh squid. So lesson learned there as we were picking up both. We should have just been going with the more fresh one. Hook size will vary. We went with size 4 as well as all the way up to size 2/0. Aberdeen hooks we were using for catching our bait. And we had a variety of hooks depending on what was going to hook or what was biting for those little bait fish. Additionally, we had circle hooks, 5/0 all the way up to 9/0 and bigger. We were adjusting there based on what fish were biting. Ended up using more of the smaller 5/0 hooks than the normal ones. I think we normally were using 7/0 in past trips. So hook size vary. It was a good thing we had a number to pick from and being able to focus to the pattern to what the fish were biting on, getting some good hook sets there. Pier net. Gotta have a pier net. Although we didn't have to use it this round. Every time we don't bring it, we tend to get big fish. Every time we do bring it, we don't. Well, regardless, we brought it. And we did see some other folks catching some nice size one that needed a pier net. It was good to know that we had our pier net with us in case we did get that bruise. Other thing is a wagon. Have a wagon. That made a big difference. We had the collapsible wagon. We're in a compact car. We were able to just collapse it down, put it right into the back of the trunk, unfold it, get it all set up, and bring everything we needed. Instead of having to carry it and lug it around like we had previously done from where we parked all the way up the pier or to the pier check-in, all the way up the pier in the case of Galveston Fishing Pier being longer, made a difference for us. Being able to pack up and go as well as adjust to where we wanted to fish on the pier pretty much at a moment's notice since everything was readily movable, transportable. Work the entire pier. Well, because we had that wagon, we tended to work the entire pier more. In past trips, we'll just kind of sit in one spot and then we'll maybe move to another, and then that's pretty much it. In this case, we were able to go up and down the pier. What also helped us is because we were a non-peak hour and non-peak day, pretty much the pier was not crowded. So we could move up and down it as we wish without having to crowd out others or be crowded out by others. And then that wagon helped us getting up and down the pier as well. Other thing, fishing-wise, wire leaders. We use wire leaders for the most part. And even though, actually we did have a cutoff when we were using a mono leader on one particular fish. We went to the
one particular call out with the this was back in 2019, I think, is when this video was. So ever since then, we've shifted over to just using our own. We make them out of baling wire, and ever since I shifted to that, we have not had a break off with baling wire. If it does break off, we're using about a 5-foot, 6-foot leader and wire trace setup, and the only time we really get cut off is if it's a big one and he rolls on us and snaps our line or abrades our line to where, well, he's just that big and he just took it out. But ever since then, this is an older one. We don't use the we don't use these rigs anymore. We make them ourselves. 2 reasons. I think ours is better in most cases. Plus, it's cheaper. And I can make them on the fly and adjust as need be. So if all of a sudden I'm getting a lot of, bigger strikes and whatnot, and they are rolling on the line, I can make that adjustment because I have everything already in our tackle box ready to go on the fly on the pier itself. So,
the wire leaders, stay with it consistently. Only, I think, more lesson learned on this one is we need to go with a longer leader. I think we were using 2 to 3 foot leaders. We had one roll on us and it cut the line. Probably a longer leader would have helped there as well. So lesson learned, have wire leaders, longer wire leaders, have maybe vary like we did the hooks, do the same thing with the wire leaders. Okay, from an ouch standpoint, lesson learned, ouch, secure your gear. Ended up losing two, although cheap, $1 a piece, bait knives, we ended up losing two of them. And one we really liked because it kept a really good sharp edge. Ended up happening was we're cutting some bait and inadvertently knocked it into the water. Luckily it was only $1. Luckily we were able to replace it fairly quickly because the Pier sells them pretty cheap. I think it's $1 plus tax, $1.08. But ouch. Would have been nice to have that really sharp one that we still like. So secure your gear. Protect your phone from rain as well as the oopses. And when we say rain, we had it in a waterproof bag. No problem there. Waterproof bag doesn't protect you from the oops. In this case, someone inadvertently dropped something heavy enough to nick the phone screen. Luckily, we did have a phone screen, so it only nicked the phone screen instead of damaging the phone. But do protect your phone. Clothing wise, from an ouch standpoint, our hat, almost lost our hat. Oops. Wind was really the key there. It was really windy, and
So back then I was using a straw hat, like one of those Panama style hats with, you know, I don't know how to describe it, but it's a straw hat, and it didn't have a strap to secure it in place. Ever since I switched over to the Stetson mesh hat that does have a strap, I secure it, and I've not had any issues being concerned about losing my hat. And I definitely like to keep my hat now because it protects my bearing head or sparse hair from getting...
almost lost our hat. But clothing wise, do have protection for sun, do have protection for rain. So we had clothing that could cover all the way up to our arms, as well as the lightweight Columbia gear that you see that's very, very vented, so you didn't sweat. Okay, so recapping the lessons learned, getting there. From a getting there standpoint, non-peak days for your hotel stay so that you can stay away from the crowds. Additionally, that San Luis toll, $2, keep it under the rock for the sign. Keep that aware when you're going up from Surfside up to Galveston, you got that toll. Non-rush hour arrivals, so time when you arrive into the area that you're missing that congestion, that rush hour traffic, so you're not stuck there instead of fishing. And then keep Google Maps or Waze handy so you can get that speed limit.
Okay, so I got to call out the $2 under the rock deal. Okay, so as you're going over to San Luis Pass toll and you get to the booth, there's a sign there that says it's $2, at least back then, and make sure you put it under the rock because it's windy, and next thing you know you'll lose your $2 and it gets blown away. But that was then. I don't know if it's still there, but I thought that was a pretty
verification as well as check traffic conditions. And then also keep aware of some of those speed traps that are out there. From a fishing standpoint, prepare for changing weather, changing water or surf conditions. Live shrimp, size does matter. Be able to pick what you want in case you're trying to go for some of the nice bigger size speckled trout and sand trout. And then fresh squid, pink versus white, go with that white, fresh, opaque look. Hook size, be prepared to adjust hook sizes, but have those different hook sizes so you're not stuck. Or at the whim of what's available on the pier or the bait shops.
And then one thing to call out on the shrimp and live shrimp flags is as you're driving along the coast and you're trying to find a place to pick up some bait, do look for the flags because they will have these flags out that'll indicate that they do have live shrimp or they do have croaker, live croaker, or other different baits. If you don't see those flags flying, it's a good likelihood that they are out of bait. So keep that in your back pocket. And the other thing is when you are getting live shrimp, one thing I learned years back from a gentleman who we met while fishing on over there back at Port Aransas along the beach was when you are fishing live shrimp and you have your bait bucket, the aerator and everything, and it's keeping the fish or the shrimp alive, use that little dip net or minnow net, because what he told us was if you dig your hand into the water, you've got sunscreen on, you have other chemicals and whatnot, and you end up killing your shrimp, and they don't live as long. So he suggested use your little minnow dip net, whatever deal, and don't put your hand in the water. And ever since we started doing that, we had a lot longer, or our shrimp stayed alive a lot longer. I mean, sometimes overnight, where we just keep it over there. A couple times we stayed at a condo on the beach back at Port Aransas, and yeah, we had shrimp ready the next day. Just had to make sure that the aerator was running good. All right, so yeah, use a dip net, live shrimp. Don't just dig your hand into the bait bucket itself and try grabbing one, and next thing you know, you got some floaters in that bait bucket.
Have that pier net handy. That definitely makes a difference when it comes to landing fish, as well as that wagon. Big difference for us. Being able to move and transport our gear and move up and down the pier, and then also work that entire pier. So don't just stay in one or two spots. See where they are, make the adjustment, and go from there. Have wire leaders, longer wire leaders, in case they roll on you and cut for those larger fish, and in this case sharks. Have that handy. And then from an ouch standpoint, secure your gear. We lost those two knives. Do secure them. Protect your phone. Had it protected for rain, but a little ouch there, or oops, when it came to something nicking the phone screen. But luckily we had that phone screen, so we didn't damage our phone. And then having the appropriate clothing, sun, wind, rain, be prepared. So next time, what will we do? We'll definitely bring a wagon. Might do some surf fishing this next time, because we saw some really nice conditions coming up from Freeport, or correction, Surfside up to Galveston. That beach area reminded us of Port A, Padre Island. It looked like some very good fishing conditions, or fishing to happen in those in that surf. And then it was windy. We're going to secure our hat. Not going to not secure our hat. We're going to make sure that we don't lose it, because we definitely like that hat. All right. Well, thanks for sticking with us and listening to our lessons learned. Hopefully it was helpful for you.
This girl was in my heart.
Alrighty, so with that was the Galveston fishing trip that we took. I posted this back in 2019, so okay, a little grayer, a little less hair and whatnot, but hey, I'm still fishing and I'm still having fun. All right, anyone have any questions, comments? I'm monitoring the chat. I definitely have some time today to just basically ramble on, because this is the Real Cast Fishing Podcast, Fishing Ramblings series, and all it is just talking fishing. And in this case, we're kind of focusing more on pier fishing, in particular fishing the Texas coast in the Galveston area. But I'll open up the forum or the questions and comments to other things that you guys feel you want to talk about, as long as it's fishing. You know, you got these other times where you get some folks on here and they're just posting all kinds of other stuff non-fishing related. Well, this is a fishing channel. We're talking fishing. All right, so let me go dig around here and see if I can find another one of these pure fishing videos that I've posted from over the years, and see if that'll maybe pique your interest. Let's see, here's one back in 2021, and I don't know, this one looks familiar. Bear with me, there's a commercial that kicks off. Okay, there we go. Okay, so what I'm showing you here is one of the trips back in 2021. We hit the coast, Galveston Fishing Pier, and it's a fun time. We're over here just catching different sharks and whatnot. We are using the boat rods and whatnot that seem to work better than the surf casting rods. My fishing buddy still wanted to use these surf casting rods. It's maximum 10-foot rods on these particular piers, and the key takeaway there is we're shifting over to the shorter boat rods instead, because you seem to get better leverage with those when you get these guys on the run. This individual caught this, I think it was a black tip. I think it was his first time getting out there catching a fish or two, specifically a shark. So that was pretty cool. My fishing buddy was able to catch this one. We ended up releasing this guy. I'd say it went about maybe, about 3 foot or so. Not a big bruiser, but still a fun one to catch. And we just let him back in the water here. So we fished into the dark, and definitely the bite stayed steady. A lot of stuff that we were using was basically fish or bait that we caught on the fly while we were there. And yeah, there's like a big difference between the Atlantic sharp nose as well as the black tip. One has a size limit, the other one, or correction, the Atlantic sharp nose has a size limit as well. This was pretty cool. This cafe, they were offering all kinds of good stuff to eat. Here's my fishing buddy over here fishing, or correction, eating up some stuff there. Here I just went with your traditional eggs breakfast and some other stuff. It was very tasty. So we go back here, caught some bluefish in this case right here, and that made some pretty good bait. Turn around and just put it on the hook, and I caught this little guy. This one looks like it's just born, you know, just out of the womb. It was an awesome day that day. 2021, 2021 was this, so about 3 years ago. We're gonna make another run here in the next week, and hopefully we'll be able to relive some new memories catching some of these guys off of the pier. We used to go earlier in the year, May, June, July time frame. Now we've shifted over to the August time frame, mainly because the crowds are smaller and folks are going back to school, their kids and whatnot, and so it just kind of opens up things for us to be able to fish with a little bit more elbow room in the area. All right. And in this particular case, we did learn one piece is there's free parking right across from the pier itself. So you don't have to pay for parking during those peak hours. Yeah, and then you have to adjust for the rain. Here's some just a cloud passing through the area. And what was it? Well, I had some rain gear, so I didn't really sweat it too much, and it wasn't a big downpour. And the fish were biting. Like, this looks like another maybe a little black tip or not. I don't know. I'm not sure. We ended up throwing that one back. Okay, this one, yeah, we did get some little rain here. Okay, but you got to gut it out. You know, you only got so much time on the coast here. Sand count, croaker, whiting. We were using those, or catching them for bait, using fish bites, and then we use them for bait, and we were catching, be it small sharks, a number of sharks, as well as some bigger ones. So this was a fun trip. Later years, we've ended up catching some really good bull reds and black drums, and what we notice is they tend to be, we tend to hook up much better with them in the August time frame than our previous earlier trips in the year. There we go. Let's get some bait. Okay, little croaker. Little black tip, I think it was, or just a little shark. Throw him back, let him go. Catch another one. So again, the bite was steady. We did this, I believe this is a 3-day, 4-day trip, and we just kind of hung out in the area and enjoyed the scenery as well as enjoyed some of the fishing. Okay, I think this was a little spinner. It's got that kind of rosy color to it, pinkish, rosy, sand troutish color. And this one, we're just gonna let him go. He's too small. We need something bigger. All right, and there's even one smaller. All right. Anyway, yeah, you'll notice that there's a lot more room here. We're still using our surf casting rods in this case. This year, we're going with the boat rods. We're going with these guys right here. Let me see if you can see in the several of these boat rods, 6-foot boat rods, and we're gonna fish them on the pier. We've done that in the past, but we're actually gonna go and lead the surf rods at home and fish with the boat rods exclusively. I've added, we've got the 2 that I normally bring. I'm gonna bring another 2, and then I've got a spinning reel version of a boat rod as well. All right. And bottom line, it was a good time. You'll see that there is a wagon that we were using that made a difference when it came to making that walk up and down the pier and keeping our gear organized as well as ready for the next day. Because that we went, I think the first couple of years we were going without a wagon. Now we use this folding collapsible wagon, and it's been a game changer when it comes to hitting the pier and getting started or getting there fishing, because you can just kind of leisurely walk up the length of the pier, get to where you're going, and have everything already ready to go and deploy. Just pull out the rods and put some bait on it, and you're ready to go. There's another shark. All right. All right, bear with me. Let me put on the headset so I can hear what's happening. Okay. Oh yeah, fun stuff. Okay. All right. Appreciate y'all being able to join me today and just do a little pure fishing ramblings. I just kind of wanted to just get the word out that, yeah, you can catch fish out there. And we are making preps to make that run to the Texas coast, and I'm hoping maybe this time next or soon in the next 3-4 days here, you'll see me on the Texas coast doing a little stream, just talking about some fishing and how the things are doing, and maybe give you like a little live heads up as to how we're doing. Okay, so that said, does anyone have any questions, comments, or whatnot? Okay, then. All right, well, I appreciate y'all joining. This is a fun fishing ramblings episode. All right, all for now. Next time we'll catch y'all there.